Jane had a strange feeling about the future wife of her son ever since she first met her. Yet it wasn't until the wedding day that she really noticed and understood something about Tracy. She stands up without thinking twice and disturbs her son's vital moment. Although knowing what would occur, Jane chose to remain optimistic about the union. She wished for her son to be spared pain. But as soon as the ceremony began, she lost her patience. She couldn't have been the only one to notice it. So without thinking twice, she got up, stopped the wedding, and screamed her head off. All of the guests were in utter disbelief as Jane recounted everything she knew. Tracy acknowledged her mistakes. It was already too late in Jane's eyes. What sinister secrets, nevertheless, did Tracy hide from John? And did Jane observe the ceremony? And why did she feel the need to speak up? Around a year ago, John completely fell in love with Tracy. Time passed quickly, and their wedding was soon approaching. Tracy was quite certain about John, and vice versa. With the passing of his father, John made the decision to involve his mother in the wedding preparations. John isn't entirely comfortable in his wedding suit. He had intended to simply don his sharpest suit, but he desired something more special. He asked his mother to find him something because he is too busy with the last few days of work before the wedding. Jane appreciates this kindness and participation, so the next day she goes shopping. When she starts shopping for the ideal suit in a fantastic store, she finds that she doesn't know his size. John doesn't pick up the phone when she calls. Yet, strange things would happen when she contacted Tracy. Tracy responds, but she comes across as anxious and pressed for time. She advises her to hang up since she is occupied. Jane is taken aback. She is unaware of her daughter-in-law in this way. She doesn't give it much thought, though. Jane, nevertheless, perseveres. She makes the decision to visit John's home to determine his size for herself. She has a spare key after all, and beloved John would be quite appreciative of her resolve. When she first arrives, she hardly recognizes the home because all the curtains are drawn, giving the impression that no one still lives there. Nothing is visible when Jane approaches the bedroom and unlocks the closet door in search of John's suit. She just notices Tracy's clothing. He was missing his clothes. Since she frequently carried his laundry, she was positive that his clothing had already been hung there. She was aware of a situation. Jane chooses to disregard it though. She already spends so much time with the pair and doesn't want to cause them any more trouble. She tells herself that she was wrong to go without informing them first. Looking back, Jane should have stayed put rather than keeping her distance. She gives John a ring the following day to inquire about his size. John is delighted to speak with his mother. In the background, Tracy may be heard. She begins to ask him a question about the clothes as well, but Tracy interrupts her by asking who he is speaking to. "Dear, I was yesterday at your house and…" Jane leaves her query unanswered and permits a brief period of silence. Following that, she overhears someone, we all know who, snatching John's phone and hanging up. Jane is in awe. She makes many attempts to call back, but each time she receives voicemail. She was confident that something was wrong. She wasn't mistaken. Jane tells Tracy she's going home, but she quickly changes her mind. And that would be a regrettable course of action. Jane may as well shop for John since she was already in the city center. After learning his size, she decided that now could be the ideal time to hunt for her dear son's suit. Nevertheless, Jane then notices Tracy with a man. After taking a closer look, she is very positive that it is not John and that it is in fact a guy. Why did Tracy tell this lie? What was Tracy doing, and who was this man? Uncertain of what to do at this point, Tracy considered addressing Tracy. Would she risk it? Tracy will be followed by Jane. Tracy and the man enter a store after 5 minutes of cautiously following her about 20 meters. A furniture shop is there. As they appear to become more intimate, Tracy and the man appear to feel more at ease inside the store's confines. John's nuptials were about to go horribly wrong. Nevertheless, Jane is forced to halt when a store clerk welcomes her and inquires about how she may assist. The man who is with Tracy then turns and stares in their direction. Jane is compelled to immediately turn around and exit the shop. The eve of the wedding is now. Jane became anxious and completely lost her enthusiasm. Tracy's enigmatic behavior and her lies are to blame for this. What could she do, though? Jane makes the decision to arrive at the wedding early. She wants to see if she can be of assistance, but really she wants to see if any stranger things will occur. At first glance, everything appears to be in order. The flowers are in season, and the weather is lovely. Then, it seems as though someone is missing to her. Tracy is nowhere to be found by Jane. Where did she go? She would never have the audacity to simply skip her own wedding, would she? John claims he isn't really concerned. She had previously been there, but she had to leave to see someone really special, according to him. Jane is now in a panic. John will have to deal with the repercussions as everything appears to go wrong. She begins her search for Tracy. What might she be doing? After some time of looking, Jane locates Tracy. Tracy looks awful. Her hair is a tangle, and she appears to have spent days in the forest. She also has a strong alcohol odor, and she's not the only one. She is standing extremely close to the man from earlier who is with her. But Tracy had to get ready for the wedding, so there was no time for fighting. Tracy agrees to accompany Jane for a short while so that Jane can talk reason into her and ensure that she won't make any more mistakes. Tracy thanked Jane for her time and assured her that everything would be all right. This was an odd way for her to express her gratitude, given the circumstances surrounding the upcoming ceremony. Jane begins curling Tracy's hair because she wants her to appear her best. She hasn't washed her hair in days, and it is a terrible mess. Tracy would never act like this. Jane can detect the alcohol on her breath as well. Despite Tracy's condition, Jane is adamant that the forthcoming wedding can be saved. She had no idea that there was nothing to be saved. Jane cautiously inquires of Tracy after gaining her trust. "What was that man you were with, sweetie?" Tracy acts as if she is not hearing anything. Jane asked once more, this time a little louder. She wanted a response since she was aware their beloved John's future was in jeopardy. Then Tracy takes an unexpected action. Tracy gets to her feet and bolts. Just before Jane questioned her about the man, she appeared to be in such a serene state. She was prepared to flee from her mother-in-law in order to avoid answering the question. Jane is unaware of what she is observing. She thinks about whether she should pursue her or just accept defeat and let her go. Getting rid of someone like Tracy wouldn't be the worst thing, right? She then considers John, though. She begins to pursue Tracy as her mother instincts take over. Jane understands that if the visitors were asking about Tracy right now, they must have seen Tracy. Tracy is only nervous, Jane explains to the guests, and she is genuinely looking for Tracy. When Jane bumps into her son John just after she departs and says goodbye to the visitors. As he notices his mother's frightened demeanor, he knows that something is seriously wrong. When John starts asking questions about someone in particular, Jane seems to be able to sidestep them rather effortlessly. John queries his mom regarding the individual who arrived next to Tracy. Jane is shocked to learn about this man from John. John said, "There is a man somewhere around here, and I certainly don't know him. Do you know him?" Fortunately, John was unaware of his mother's uncertainty. He makes the decision to go back to his dressing room to complete his ceremony preparations. Jane lets out a sigh of relief. She resumes her search for Tracy since she doesn't want to waste any more time. Then, in the distance, she spots her. While she continues to round the room and stare at the ground, Tracy exudes an extremely crazy appearance. Tracy knows Jane is worried about her. Even if Jane knows Tracy is up to no good, Tracy is questioned about the situation and offered assistance. Finally, Tracy responds with an almost truthful response, since Jane had questioned her. "Who's that man, Tracy? And why are you drunk on your own wedding day? Let me help you." Tracy hesitates for a moment before realizing she must at least say something. She then begins describing the man to her. Jane learns from Tracy that the man was a caretaker by the name of Ted. Due to her prior mental health issues, her doctor appointed him. They occasionally crossed paths so he could assist her and make sure everything was in order. But very quickly it developed into something more. Tracy gave Ted more room to maneuver, and he started to anticipate more from her. She asked him to visit her more frequently than they had originally agreed when he dropped by unexpectedly from time to time. They quickly descended to an all-time low as it turned into a game. Tracy is eager to continue confessing, but the wedding planner interrupts to sabotage this sincere exchange. She informs Tracy and Jane that they are running behind schedule as a result of the approval and arrangement of the flowers. Tracy and Jane are compelled to put their talk to rest. This would have disastrous repercussions.